Hey, and welcome back to another episode of the Ultimate WordPress Guide Podcast. I'm your host, Peter Schoenfeld, and thanks for tuning in. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to our podcast on Apple and Spotify. Check out our website at ultimatewpguide.com, our YouTube channel, The Ultimate WordPress Guide, and follow us on social media for tips, tricks, reviews, and great resources on everything WordPress. Now, I really appreciate all of you tuning into the show and would appreciate even more if you could show some love by donating to this podcast. Your kind donations help me keep this resource alive by continuing to deliver great quality content to help you learn WordPress. Please leave us a donation and a review of this podcast, and you may just get shouted out in the next episode. You can find the link to donate on the podcast player or in the show notes. This episode is a continuation in our search engine optimization series, the second episode in a series of 9. Back in episode 4 of this podcast, I talked briefly about SEO and gave an overview of each of the pillars that make up a solid SEO strategy. If you're not caught up, I suggest you go and listen to that first. It'll give you a good idea of where we are going with this series, and it's only 12 minutes long. So in this episode, I'll talk about the first pillar, which is SEO Fundamentals. These are all the things you need to take into consideration initially when setting up a website that will lay the foundation for everything that will be built and executed on top of this. The fundamentals are all about setup, getting your site ready to start capturing, tracking, and analyzing data of your visitors. In essence, making your site discoverable and visible to search engines and people alike. In this episode, I'll be referring to a bunch of tools and platforms that you need and can use. Some of these are free, some are paid, but for most, you can sign up for a free trial to take the capabilities for a spin before you commit. Check out the links to all the tools I'll be talking about today in the show notes. So let's get started and take a look at each of these components. So the first thing is setting up Google Tag Manager and integrating it with your WordPress site. So what is Google Tag Manager and why should you bother? Well, Tag Manager is a tool with a user-friendly web-based interface that simplifies the process of working with tags, that helps you gain more insight on what is happening on your site. It allows you to quickly and easily update measurement codes and related code fragments, collectively known as tags. Well, that's a lot of technical mumbo-jumbo, but what does it actually mean? In its simplest form, if you wanted to see how many times your visitors click on a particular button on a page, or you want to track visitors' behavior on your site to help you improve the layout of a landing page, for example, using Google Tag Manager is how you would do it. Tag Manager was created to empower marketers in managing analytics and marketing tags on their websites efficiently. It is fully customizable and an ideal solution to streamline your reporting, modify your readers' content experience, control their micro-level behavior when interacting with your content, improve engagement, and the list goes on. You should go over to the Google Marketing Platform, link in the show notes, and create a Tag Manager account if you don't have one already. In the dashboard, you'll set up a property or an account and a container, which is essentially the website you want to track. Once created, you'll be presented with some scripts that you then need to put onto your website. The easiest way to do this is by using a plugin called Insert Headers and Footers by WP Beginner, and is available to download for free from the WordPress plugin repository. Install the plugin, paste the header and body scripts from Tag Manager into the respective areas, and you're good to go. I've created a video about this, and you can also find the link in the show notes. Next up then is setting up Google Analytics. Google Analytics is a free service offered by Google that helps you track and report on your website traffic. So first you'll want to head over to the Analytics platform, create an account. With this account, you can then manage and maintain multiple properties if you have multiple websites. Every website will have a property which you have to create, and that property that has to be connected to the website to start capturing data. Now, there are lots of ways to do this, but the best way I've found and use myself is hands down using the Monster Insights WordPress plugin. It is by far the best Google Analytics plugin for WordPress with over 3 million active installs. All you have to do is install the free plugin, again from the WordPress plugin repository, directly on your WordPress site, Once installed, you simply connect your analytics account and it'll let you choose which property you've created you want to associate with that website. With that done, you'll get to monitor all the site analytics data directly from your WordPress dashboard. The premium version obviously gives you a huge amount of additional capabilities and tools to get the most out of your data, like e-commerce reports, affiliate and ad tracking, and so much more. The next thing you then want to do is to link up these two. Connecting the data from Analytics and Tag Manager will give you a true in-depth view of your visitors' behavior, from which pages they visit, for how long, which pages they leave your website from, how far down a page they scroll, to which buttons they click on your site. Collecting and analyzing all of this data and then using this data to make improvements to your site will ensure that you're able to optimize your site for its main purpose, to ensure visitors engage and to boost conversions for whatever purpose. The next piece of the puzzle is Google's Search Console, and with the emphasis on search. This is where you make your website discoverable on Google by ensuring that visitors can find your site, all leading to the ultimate goal in SEO of optimizing search results to help get your site ranking above all others and visible to your potential customers in a sea of your competitors. Search Console helps you verify site ownership, ensure Google can read your web pages, and gives you feedback on any errors that may appear on your site impact your SEO score, and indexing and helping to monitor your website's overall performance. The beauty is, again, with the Monster Insights plugin, you can then also associate your Search Console property with your website and analytics directly from the Monster Insights setup. You can do this from the start if you have both properties set up when installing the plugin, or you can add it later when you have both. Next, just because you use Google 100% of the time doesn't mean everybody else does. There are other search engines out there, and depending on how far you want to reach your potential audience, you'll want to make yourself visible on these two. Two of these are Bing and Yandex. Both of these have Webmaster platforms similar to Google Search Console, where you can set up properties for your site to ensure visibility in those search engines. Once you've signed up and submitted your website to both Bing and Yandex, luckily there is a super easy way to associate them with your website, and that is through an SEO plugin, which I'll talk about next. Next then, as part of the activities for SEO Fundamentals, is installing an SEO plugin on your site. Now there are many great ones out there, such as Rank Math, Yoast, All-in-One SEO, each with a lot of common but also unique sets of features. I personally prefer Rank Math because it's easy to set up and use, and I've got it running on all of my websites. The setup of your SEO plugin is quite extensive, but over the coming episodes of this series and all the various components we'll touch about SEO, it'll become crystal clear to you what and why each of these things are there. Back to my previous point of Bing and Yandex, once your SEO plugin is installed and your properties created, you'll simply go and add these properties to your Webmaster tool settings and you're good to go. So therefore, having an SEO plugin on your site is an absolute must. This will guide you on what's the right schemas to use for your content, help with local SEO, online store, image SEO, sitemaps, keyword ranking, SEO analysis, show you all the things you need to fix or improve to get your SEO score up, and so much more. All of which we'll cover extensively further in this series when I talk about performance, on-page, off-page, technical and content SEO. Next, you'll want to set up Uptime Monitoring on your site. Your site is only good if it's live and visitors can get to it. Uptime Monitoring enables notifications to let you know when your site has gone down, for whatever reason, to let you take corrective action before being blindsided by your site being inaccessible. Here you can use tools like Uptime Robot, Pingdom, Site 24/7 and Manage WP. But the bottom line is, if you're hosting your site with an unreliable host, there's no telling how frequently your site may be down. Now it's important to note that an Uptime Monitor won't help your site stay up. It will though let you know when it's not. Make sure you select a good host. Go back and listen to episode 3 of this podcast where I talked about what to look for in a good hosting provider, and website uptime is right up there on the list. Depending on your budget that determines where you host, you want to be looking for companies like Cloudways and SiteGround, Kinsta, WP Engine and Flywheel, that all have top-class WordPress hosting plans. Next, I want to talk about TrustRank. Google has very powerful algorithms that determine and score you on whether your site is a trustworthy resource. Now, though there are hundreds of factors that Google employs to rank your site, a couple of the things I want to mention in this section are trust pages and who is. Trust pages are pages on your site such as the About page, Contact page, Privacy policy, Terms of service, etc. It doesn't really matter what you use to build your website with, whether it's Vanilla Gutenberg, Elementor, Beaver Builder, Divi, Oxygen Builder. These are all fairly easy to create and it's really important to have them. Whois, on the other hand, is an internet listing that regulates domain name registration and ownership. The Whois record contains all of the contact information associated with the person, group, or company that registers a domain for their website. It is important to ensure that this information is correct, and depending on the registrar that you use, they should ensure that all this information is captured correctly. Buy your domain from reputable sources like GoDaddy. And if you want to go blockchain, take a look at Unstoppable Domains. So next up is ensuring your website is secure and available on HTTPS. There are a lot of components when it comes to website security, not all of which is relevant to this SEO series. HTTPS means that traffic to and from your site is transferred securely. And this is apparent by the little padlock icon that will appear next to the domain name in the browser search bar. This requires an SSL certificate to be installed on your domain. Nowadays, it's very uncommon to see a website without it, and for good reason. Your website will most likely be penalized if it's not secure. Most hosting providers offer these SSL certificates, and depending on which host you choose, you'll probably get it for free with your hosting plan. But if they don't, you can always install it separately. It can be a bit of a hassle though, so I recommend going for a host that includes this out of the box. Again here, Cloudways, SiteGround, Kinsta, WP Engine, Flywheel are all great options, but there are obviously others as well as GoDaddy, Bluehost, HostGator, Hostinger, and more. Next is keyword rank tracking. People use specific search words, terms, and phrases in search engines to get to websites. You will have certain phrases that you will relate to your website, and it is important to have the right keywords to ensure your potential visitors can get to your website over your competitors. Extensive keyword research is required to cook up the right recipe. I'll cover keyword research in another episode, especially as it relates to your content and how you want people to find it. But you want in this instance to be able to see how the search terms you've defined for your site is performing and ranking in search engines against others. This will allow you to tweak them, add and remove over time as your business evolves to ensure that you can get optimum traffic to your site. There are many tools and services available to help you do this, like Search Console, SERP Robot, SEMrush, AccuRanker, Ahrefs, Moz, Authority Lab, SERPstat, Ubersuggest, Site Checker, Rankwatch, Wincher, and all of these links are in the show notes. And lastly, you want to set up backlinks monitoring. Now, backlinks are references to your website from other sources. This could be other websites, social media pages, blog posts, reviews, directories, and the list goes on. It is important to note that backlinks can be good for your site to build up a good trust rank, but also very toxic. Even though a lot of backlinks will increase your SEO score, having bad ones, not so much. And this is why you need to keep track of them. Part of your SEO strategy will include building reputable backlinks, which I'll cover in another episode, but some of these happen naturally, so keep an eye on it from early on to avoid your site ranking from being impacted negatively. There would be nothing worse than getting penalized before you're even properly off the ground. In this domain, there are also many tools and services you can use, again, like SEMrush, Ahrefs, Site Checker, Monitor Backlinks, SE Ranking, Rank Active, Open Link Profiler, Rank Signals, and BuzzSumo, just to name a few. And again, I've put the links in the show notes. And that pretty much covers the first part, SEO Fundamentals. I know it's a lot to take in and consider when first setting up a site, but laying the right foundation, like when building a house, is key to successful outcome of your project. Stay tuned for future episodes in this series where I'll go deep into each of the other SEO pillars as well, and please engage with us. Leave a review, let me know what you think and how this may or may not be helping you along your SEO journey. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe to this podcast on Apple and Spotify. Check out our website at ultimatewpguide.com. Follow us on YouTube and social media for tips, tricks, reviews, and great resources. And if this resource is helping you in any way, we would really appreciate your support to keep it alive. You can donate to the show, no matter how big or small. Any contribution will help us cover costs to keep this podcast on the air and ensuring I can keep sharing and you can keep learning. Please leave us a donation and or a review of this podcast, and you may just get shouted out in the next episode. You can find the link to donate on the podcast player or in the show notes. Until next time, bye for now.